Today's video is sponsored by Mikuni Heating UK for all your marine and vehicle heating requirements, but we'll get into them later in the video. And I have some amazing top tips for you for installing your diesel heater, and these tips will really make your life a lot easier, and it should actually help quite a lot. And that includes how to run the wiring loom through from the inside of your van to your diesel heater without having to drill any holes. The plan is to get a diesel heater fitted on my VW T4. Now this diesel heater is the MV Airo 2 Boost, and let me show you how it comes. So it doesn't come with this protective case, but it does come with everything that you need to fit this diesel heater. And the first thing you're going to notice is that it's lovely and shiny, and the reason being for that is that this diesel heater, where I'm mounting it underneath, I wanted it to be protected. So we have a lovely stainless steel protective case that actually protects the whole diesel heater. It's not just a mount, it is actually a protection as well. So it's perfect for any of you guys that like going off-road. Now at the moment they don't sell these, but these are the brackets. I've made up a couple of these brackets that are able to install the diesel heater underneath your van without having to drill any holes. And we'll go through where it's all located shortly after we've gone through this. So we'll start off with the location of where we're going to fit the diesel heater first, because I think it's quite important to know where you want to mount your heater first before doing anything else, because there's a lot of research that I've actually gone into. I've done all this research so you don't have to. So if you actually have the VW T4 Caravelle, then this may be the insulation for you. You can still fit this exactly the same with normal T4s. The only difference is going to be when it comes to installing your ducting, you're going to be running it into a different area. Same kind of place, but you're going to be drilling through the hole, through the floor, and then bringing your ducting up through. I'm actually going to be drilling into the airbox and having my ducting going into the airbox, which will then use the heating system that's already in the van. Now, before we go into the actual installation process itself, I just wanted to run through everything that comes in the box. So obviously you get the unit itself. You then get, starting with the fuel line, we've got a stand pipe. You can tee off your return. If you are teeing off your return, before you order this, just let them know and they'll send you all the bits that you need. Now everything comes so simple and it's all labelled up. In this packet it says interior temperature sensor. Well, I've already gone ahead and installed the wiring, so that's why I have all these top tips to make your life a lot easier. So we have the temperature sensor there. I want to make a little block here, little mounting block, so we can have the temperature sensor. I've also got my thermostat, my control switch. So we've got the control switch, temperature sensor. That all runs down and it actually runs out through the seal, and it actually runs to the diesel heater that way. But I do actually have my leisure battery under here as well. So all my power connections will be going from here, will be going down through the seatbelt mount, out through the seal, and then through the diesel heater. Excellent. We have a muffler, which is part of the exhaust system. So with this kit, it does come with a really good quality exhaust system. And the exhaust goes onto here. On here, next to your fuel line in, is your air combustion intake with a silencer, a little resonator on there, just to try and dampen the noise down. Right, moving on. So with the fuel system, we got the fuel sender through the fuel line, through the fuel pump. So in this kit, we've got in here one-way valve, we've got a fuel filter, and we've got a fuel pump. We've got all the mountings that we need in there, all the brackets. There's a rubber mounting there for the fuel pump. We'll get into that in a moment. And then we've got all the little clips and screws and everything else that may be required for your installation. And obviously ducting, because you're going to need your ducting for your heater. Right, let's get on with the installation and start by, well, I know where the mounting points are. I can show you the mounting points. I need to get to the fuel tank I think that's where we'll start. We'll start with the fuel system. So we'll get the fuel, we'll get the seats out, we'll get to the fuel sender. I'm not going to be dropping the fuel tank. I'm just going to be pulling back the carpet on the front, getting to the fuel sender through the top. We'll remove that. We'll drill through this fuel sender. We'll fit the standpipe. We can run the fuel line through. And then once I've done that, we can then go underneath and have a look at where it's going to, where I've decided to mount the diesel heater. And then I'll show you all the wiring. And then I've got to drill a few holes. Got to drill a hole into the rear air box, and I want to drill a hole into the side step. So we've got the cold air from the side step blowing out the hot. So this is going to be hooked up. This is going to be the cold air from the side step. This is going to be my hot air going out to my rear air box. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So now we've got access to the fuel sender unit. You can see I've already disconnected the electrical connector. We now need to remove the two fuel lines, the out and the in, the return. I would recommend marking the pipes so you know which ones are which, but I know mine on the feed to the engine goes through. I've got a T-piece here, whereas the return, there's no T-piece on that. So I'm going to disconnect them, remove the ring, and then we can remove the fuel sender unit. Right, so I just thought I'd show you quickly. If I show you round the back there, you can see, I don't know how, well, you can't see from this angle. Well, there you go. So straight down that angle there. So from here running this way, you can see there's like a channel for the fuel line to run through. So the sender unit will go there. I'll make sure that the little fuel line feeds that way so that we can feed it down and send it down. Right, next thing, bit of wood, hammer. I'm just going to gently tap this to release that ring. Also, I better show you this quickly. Right, just here on the fuel sender, there's a little arrow, and that arrow needs to line up with that mark there. So when you put it all back together, that's where it needs to go. All right, just remember that. So now we've actually got the sender unit out, we need to find out where we're going to be drilling the hole through for the standpipe. So what I've got here is a bright light, and you can instantly see right here in this little square area, which is lit up here, that's the area that we want to be sending the standpipe down through. So I'm going to go right in the middle, about there. So now before we drill this, we're actually going to need a 6mm drill bit, and you also want to make sure that you don't get any plastic, any swarf anywhere on the actual sender unit itself. So what we're going to do is, got some rags, and we're just going to wrap everything up. So the standpipe from the very end, 24 centimetres. So another great little tip for you, once you've cut the standpipe down to size, you want to make sure you completely deburr that, because after I just cut this with a hacksaw, it was partially blocked and I couldn't get the swarf out. So this is what I've used, and I've got the nail in there. Give it a bit of a twist, and that's cleaned up lovely. We'll also run around the edge with a little bit of emery, little needle file, just to tidy it all up so there's no sharp edges or any loose bits of metal that might contaminate the fuel. Right, let's go fit this now. So now we're ready to fit the standpipe into the sender unit. You want to make sure that that O-ring sits on here and go down just like that, and the pipe will need to be bent a very tiny amount. Put a little S-bend in it. The sender unit is all ready to go back in now. So now we've got the sender unit all in, we just need to make sure it's nice and tight. So again, bit of wood, just definitely tight enough. And now we can send the fuel line down. There you go, you can see it straight there. I can hook onto that and pull it down. So I've just mounted the diesel heater. You can see how those brackets work. So they're just sitting on the lip. And then you've got the other bit, this piece here, and that will just slide over like that. Excuse me, it's hard work one-handed. And I've got a little bolt that will go up through there, and then a washer and a nut on the top. I couldn't get any locking nuts, so I'm just using some Loctite for now. And that's the brackets, and then I'll go around and put the bolts back in. There's 4 bolts on each bracket. That side's all secured up. Well, that's the diesel heater all mounted up. Full swinging on that. That ain't going anywhere. That's solid, mate. Absolutely solid. Awesome. Now let's move on and see how I managed to get the wiring loom through the seal. So the grommet, if you want to know, is roughly about there. So it's a few inches away, probably about 5-6 inches away from that pillar. So the seal is about there, that hole. And all I've done is I've used this. I've put a slight little bend in it, nothing mad, and then I sent it in there. And you can hear it. You can hear it hitting the seal. So then from there I went underneath, and there's 2 grommets. You can see the one on the left and the one on the right. You can see clearly I've gone through the one on the right. So then once I'd sent this rod down through that hole, I taped on some of this wire and I sent that down through there. And those terminals for the wiring loom are never going to fit through there. But right here is a big square opening where the actual reel of your seatbelt would actually be if you had the Caravelle. And then what I done is I used this hook, I slid it down there and it went through where the seatbelt hole is, and I was able to hook onto this yellow wire and then pull it up. So I had the yellow wire coming down through. So I had the yellow wire coming in through there, and then that way I was able to pull all the wire from the loom all the way up and through into that compartment there, which then I was able to connect it all up from this side. I've done pretty much the same for the controls up here. I sent it down but between the actual pillar and the plastics, so it's just running down behind the trim. And I just sent this down and it comes out down there as well. I actually removed the speaker, so I was able to get my fingers up and it helped me get it in and around. And then it'll all be wired up into the battery, leisure battery there. Right, and now let's have a look at where the vents are going. You can see what I've done here. This is where the matrix is, along this bit here. But I've put a piece of metal along the side of the matrix because I'm drilling, I don't know how well you can see, but there's a flat edge down there. I can't get the camera in there, but there's a very tiny little flat edge on the very corner, and that's where I'm drilling through. But we'll be able to see that from the outside when I actually drill through. But I'm just pointing out that I've put a piece of metal there to protect the matrix so that I don't drill through and damage the matrix. So that will be the hot air, and the cold air is going to get drilled right about there. So I want to protect this hole. Now, I was hoping to use some red oxide primer, but I can't find it. Next best thing, some etch primer, and I've just sprayed it into the can, and I'm going to use a cotton bud just to apply it, because there's no need to spray it and make all that mess. So we're just going to go round and put a nice little coat on there. Protection. So this is my rear airbox, and you can see the location. I've just drilled a pilot hole, and this is the location of where the hot air is going to go in. So now I just need to drill it out quickly, and then we can install it. So you can see we've drilled in there now. Let's get the light round to a better angle. You can see the metal plate that I put in there, because right behind it was the matrix, and you could hear every now and then that the hole saw was actually catching on that metal plate. So it's definitely a good job that I put it in there. And also, if you didn't see, I actually went through at a bit of a weird angle, because there was no room to get the drill in there. Well, there you go, there's the other hole. So I'm just test fitting this little sleeve in here to secure the ducting onto. Now what I've used is a reducer, so it's an 80 to 60 millimeter reducer, and this is for the hot air duct venting. Yeah, so that reducer, they actually sell for, I think, like £2 at MV Heating. So we can see inside the air box, and you can see that's where the little reducer is. So that's an 80 to 60 mil reducer. I've cut it down to make it shorter because it wouldn't actually fit in with the matrix here as well. So I've cut it down pretty much flush, and now I'm going to use some tiger seal, just a little bit of tiger seal around the edge, and then that will just squeeze in nice and tight. and then I can connect the ducting, the 60mm ducting on the other side. So a quick look at the fuel system. The fuel pipe comes up and it goes in through the filter first, and then through the one-way valve, and then into the fuel pump. And on this one, this current model, I have a fuel dampener on the end. So then from that fuel dampener, the fuel line then runs to the actual unit itself. So to get the angle of the fuel pump, which should be between 15 and 35 degrees, I've used a piece of paper, this corner edge here, which is 90 degrees, we'll half that, 45 degrees, half it again, and that's 22.5 degrees. So that's perfect for the angle of the fuel pump. So I want to say a massive thank you to Mikuni Heating UK for sponsoring this video. All of the products that you have seen in this video have been supplied by Mikuni Heating UK. I will leave a link down below in the description so that you can go and check them out at mvheating.co.uk. Unfortunately, the only thing that they don't have on their website currently is the brackets to mount this, because I actually custom made these brackets myself. So any questions that you have on what you've seen in this video, any questions on the heater, just let me know in the comments down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I am currently going to be doing a video on how to prime up your fuel system and first time start, and then the functions of the thermostat itself and the heater. So in the meantime, subscribe right now, and down below 5 top tips. And now these 5 top tips I would recommend you watching before actually installing a diesel heater yourself. And there's a couple of other videos to help you along your way. Right, so for now, take care, stay safe, and God bless.